services. So today in our class we are going to discuss about the topic which is global infrastructure. So today in this class of Amazon Web Services we are going to discuss about its global infrastructure. Now Amazon Web Services, it serves 1 million active customers. So these are the main point, that it serves 1 million active customers in more than 190 countries. And it is continued process. And it is continued to use. Now, this basically helps to expand any organization. That means it continues to expand so that it can help organization to grow their business more and more. So to have, that means if you have these much active customers and you are connecting so many countries together, so you must have, that means to have lower latency. This is what a requirement, that your latency should be less. To have lower latency and to have high throughput. And my latency should be more and I should have high throughput, because this is business need. The latency should be less and throughput should be more. Now, as per the locations, if we talk about its global infrastructures and its locations, so it has various regions as well as various availability zones. So we have divided infrastructure into various regions as well as various availability zones. Regions and availability. So now what is a region? If we talk about region, so this is a separate geographic area. This is a separate geographic area. Region is basically a separate geographic area. That means this is a separate one, geographic area. Now we have multiple isolated locations. Multiple isolated locations. So we call it as availability zones. Because we have to cover number of countries and number of customers, so we have divided into regions and availability zone. Separate geographic area as a region and multiple isolated locations as availability zone. Now we have placement of resources and data. So that means where we can place placement of resources and data. So where we can place our resources, we can place our data. So this would be in multiple locations. That means all resources as well as data are placed in the multiple resources. Now, resources are not replicated across region unless organization choose to do so. For example, I can't replicate into various regions unless organization choose. If I am an organization, then I can choose my region where the resources can be replicated. That means it is up to organization where the organization wants to keep the data, where the organization wants to replicate the data. Now that means regions which are separate geographic area, these are completely isolated with one another. That means regions are completely isolated to one another. Now why regions are completely isolated to one another? So that we can achieve fault tolerant and stability. So that fault tolerant, it can tolerate various faults and it could be a stable network. That's why our regions are completely isolated from one another. Now, each availability zone is also isolated. Each availability zones are also isolated, but they are connected through low latency links. So that means availability zones are isolated, but they are connected through low latency links. That means we have connected our availability zones, but we have completely separated out our regions. Now our next need, that means there should be discrete uninterruptible power supply. That means power supply. We can provide on-site backup generators also which having independent utilities. Generators. That means we have a complete backup so that we can avoid SPOF that we had discussed. This is single point of failure. To avoid this, we have power supply connected so that we don't have any interruption in power supply. Now all the availability zones are connected through multiple tier 1 transit providers. That means we can place our resources in separate availability zones. We can place our resources in separate availability zones. That means placement of resources in separate availability resource. So by placing in separate availability, we can protect our website or we can protect our application from single interruption, single location. We have multiple in multiple locations so that in case of any failure, we can retrieve the data from multiple locations. Now, for example, we have web app, we have database in different availability zone. So we are creating a multi-site solution. We are creating multi-site solution because we have our data in multiple locations. This is about availability zones in Amazon Web Services. Thank you so much.